Why, hello there, Knife Tear here. I do hope this video finds you well. I thank you for tuning in to the channel, and today I'm bringing you a summary of a knife I've done a full review on. The full review will be linked down in the description. This is the SRM Swift. This is sort of a retro office carry CEO style knife that is very compact, very small, very light. I mean, it's pretty small. You can see that. I'm not going to go into full specs or anything because, of course, this is not the full review. That is all in the full review if you want to check it out. I'm just going to quickly go over this knife and say that there is one change since the review, and it's an important one. But quickly, what we're looking at here is SRM knives in 12C27 blade steel. You can see right there. 125L GR is the knife code. That doesn't need to be there, and that certainly doesn't need to be there, especially because they put their logo on the pivot, and it looks perfectly fine there. Like, that just get rid of that. That would be much nicer. But this is also not a knife that I'm going to complain about. This is an ultra-budget knife, so small things like that I won't complain about. The same thing with the steel. The steel is very similar to AEBL. I talked about this in the full review again. In fact, I went into a little bit more detail than normal in the full review, but with AEBL. And why I think that it's not a bad choice for this one, but it's heat treated too low. Like, their heat treat on this is 56 to 58, which, from what I understand, kind of pointless on AEBL. AEBL is not a steel that has good edge retention, right? It's got less edge retention than probably 8CR. Well, we're definitely 8CR. However, it is extraordinarily tough steel compared to most other things. It is much closer to the high carbon non-stainless steels, but this is stainless. And 12C27 follows in a similar vein. So cranking this thing up to a 62 HRC would probably be better. You get better edge retention, and because you don't lose toughness like you do on a lot of other steels, this thing managed to do what a lot of those other steels can't do, and that is retain edge stability. And edge stability is the ability to avoid rolls and different deformations and stuff like that because it's tough. So while the edge will wear faster, if you put it like a high, low angle edge bevel on this thing, it should be able to hold its shape better than a lot of other knives. So I'm talking 10 degrees per side, maybe even. You're going to get a big edge bevel, but it should be able to retain that shape a little bit better than most. And geometry cuts. So even if the edge wears and the teeth, the micro teeth that are in the micro serrations in the actual edge sort of wear away, you still have that amazing thin form that should hold a bit longer than a lot of knives. I don't necessarily think I'd go to maybe 10 degrees per side immediately, but 12 to 13, maybe 14. Something pretty thin and pretty low angle. Maybe you can go get ahead. I don't know. I've never done that. Never gone that quite that far. But this would definitely be one that you could try it on. That might hold it better. And even if it loses some of its technical edge retention, which is the wear resistance of the edge, it should still continue to cut. So it should basically overcome its own lower edge retention just because it can hold geometry really well. However, that would require it being 62 HRC. This is 56 to 58, which is basically doubling down on toughness on a already extremely tough knife. Kind of pointless. I definitely think it could sing better, especially considering even though it doesn't have a lot of room to drop down. That's the other thing. This blade shape might not be ideal for that because it doesn't have so much room to drop down, so it gets thick faster. So geometry's already a little bit off. But it does come down to a surprisingly thin edge. So this may even still work on this knife if they were to do it. However, with all of that said, this is like a $19 knife. I'm 12C27 on a $19 knife that has an edge is better than most things you're going to get from a $19 knife. So I'm not complaining, right? It's kind of they get away with it here because it's like, could it be better? Sure. The edge that they actually put on here has a slight reflectivity and polish to it. I've noticed it. I've had 2 SRMs now. They both have that. And it's a very fine, very stable edge. It's not like the bitiest of edge. I mean, you could lose that with some polish and the fact that it's not a very edge-resistant or wear-resistant blade. But it's definitely something that is a decent edge to it. Or something that has a decent edge to it. Jesus. Speech. Learn. You'd think I'd be better by now. But just food for thought. I don't think that this necessarily disqualifies this from being a solid little option, just because it's more of a light-duty letter opener anyway. So yeah, at this price point, I'm not really complaining as long as I know what the heck steel is on it, frankly. But just an idea. The actual blade is sort of a slight drop point, great tip access. The plunge grind comes to just in front of the middle of the sharpening choil, but they've given you a little bit of life. And the stop pins are actually up here, so you can definitely cut in more choil. It is a flipper tab knife with an extremely low profile, extremely high leverage point flipper, so it really rockets out pretty well. It is super reliable. I don't think anybody's going to like fail this thing unless you're cheating and you're going like way up here and you're just popping it off, popping the D10 out in general. But if you're just sort of resting your finger here, yeah, it's coming. And it also makes for a very continued minimal appearance with the flipper tab being basically in line with the spine. Nice touch there. G10 with both red and white G10 on this one. There is a black version with black and white G10 if you want a more monochrome, kind of, I guess, more professional look. One thing that I do not like is that the textures on the G10 differentiate. This is much softer while this gives a little bit more grip, and it is appreciated, honestly. And another thing that I'd like attention to detail-wise is they continued the softer stuff, the softer texture, underneath the pocket clip, while the grippier texture is not. So it doesn't bother your pockets, which is also a nice touch, and more than I would expect from most knives at this price point, frankly. It is a liner lock. It is on bearings. I did think when I first unboxed this thing that it was on washers. It really felt it. It is just such a light blade that I mean, it's a $19 blade and it's a light blade. What do you expect? You feel it a little bit. The bearings are decent. It's honestly perfectly fine, right? I mean, it's just, yeah, it's so light and so thin and small that you can feel the bearings a little bit. But honestly, it's pretty darn good. And that can vary between knives, right? Like maybe mine has a little bit of a funky scratch in the bearing. The bearings are Teflon caged steel, I believe. As you can see, it is a folded over taco style frame or liner. And in my review, I actually said I didn't necessarily like this idea for a budget knife because you're getting, like, this is an integral steel piece, right? It's all one solid piece with the G10 sitting on top of it. And the blade sandwiched down inside. I said in the review that I didn't like that because, well, I mean, it's a budget knife. You're going to probably carry this more often than you might carry something very much more expensive, and you're probably going to use it in different environments where it might get more gunk in there, and you're going to want to clean it out more often. And integrals are not necessarily the easiest things to clean off because, well, you have to take them apart, take this pivot out. While taking it apart is easier than a lot of other knives because you don't actually take anything apart, you just take the pivot out and the blade out. But getting it back together after cleaning it all out in there and doing the cleaning itself in there could be a bit of a problem. The update is that I have since taken this knife apart and cleaned it out, and it went together vastly more smoothly than I was expecting. Like, it came out nice and clean, and then it slotted back in. I just sort of pushed my finger into it, and the blade slotted right back into place, and it really just lined up really smoothly. So I will retract that. This is perfectly fine. It's in fact cool to have, a steel integral. It gives people who want to experience this rigidity and, I don't know, just the aesthetic of the integral, who don't want to spend, the normal $400, $500 on one. Or more. They can definitely go for more. So that's a good thing. That's a very, very good thing. There is a standoff for added structure and also to hold on the pocket clip, which is super, super deep carry. Flat screws, flush. And this is just take a moment. This is an excellent pocket clip. There is no flat at the end. Despite this being a very small, very minimal knife, it is about as comfortable as you're going to get for a pocket clip that's deep carry of this size on this knife. Like, this is about as good as you're going to get. The pocket clip is very flexible, but retains. It's tall enough to accommodate a lot of even somewhat thicker pants. And it just looks good. It's just a nice looking pocket clip. I mean, so often we get just your standard. Where is the standard? I was going to reach for the standard, and then I pulled out that. It's like, oh, that's a pocket clip. But no. Your standard Civivi sort of pocket clip. I don't know why, but this just looks cleaner and nicer to me than a lot of the standard sort of folded over clips. Also, again, no flat on the end, but just the way they did this with the two pieces coming together, it looks more refined, and I definitely like it better than a lot of pocket clips you're going to find on budget knives, honestly. And it works. It's solid. The whole thing is pretty darn solid for... Oh, also, the lock bar access is actually pretty good. Like, I can get it from the side, which is very surprising. A little bit of jimping here, which does add some tactile feel and let you know where you are in relation to the blade. Nice. I don't even normally like these sort of almost Quaken-esque, where you can kind of see like the blade is going up in relation to the handle going up a little bit, so it's like a slight V. I don't normally even like that aesthetic, but this is just subtle enough that it works, and it's good looking. It's kind of fun, especially with this retro pop of color here. And yeah. Oh, and you can also use this little area as a lanyard hole, I suppose. But I guess it's intended as that. But overall, for the money, yeah, this is actually a really solid knife. And it's doing a lot of really good things. I wouldn't mind seeing maybe a switch on this blade steel if they're not going to up the HRC to like D2 at 60 HRC or 61 HRC. Obviously, that would be great, but higher too. But weirdly enough, being, a light-duty office kind of carry, it's not probably going to come in contact with a ton of liquids all the time, or stuff that's kind of keeping it from being maintained. And I mean, D2 is going to hold. You're definitely going to get better edge retention out of D2. Plus, since it gets thick faster, it might lend itself to some stability. So it might actually be a good option on this one. But again, $19. Yeah, it's a win. It's a good knife. It's a solid little thing from SRM. I will link it down below. I don't get anything from this link unless it's an Amazon link. If it's an Amazon link, I will get a little kickback, and I would appreciate you going through that link. But that's all for me. That's all from the SRM Swift for now. Thank you for checking it out. Thank you for being here on the channel. Have a great day, and I will hope to see you in the next one. See ya.